Senator Marco Rubio, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How's Florida?
Florida is a gorgeous place this time of year.
What the hell am I doing in the Northeast?
Must be the low taxes.
In the Northeast? Let me tell you something. To be honest with you, I shouldn't even say this on the air. I bought a little lot right next to Congressman West's district, and in the next year or two, I'm going to put something on a lot, and I'm going to be a constituent of yours.
Well, that's great.
I look forward to that. Anyway, Senator, you wrote a letter to Barack Obama. I'm sure he didn't answer it, but I'm sure the point of the letter was to make a statement. What is the statement you make in this letter?
Well, I mean, the statement is very simple. Our debt is now the size of our economy, and there's no plan in place to change that. It is going to continue to grow faster than our economy is going to grow, and we are in big danger here. I mean, we are in danger. All we need to do is look to Europe, and we can see what's going to happen to us at some point in the near future if this president and this Congress does not step in to deal with this.
If Barack Obama is reelected, God forbid, do you think we can pull out of this? I mean, I'm so concerned we're at the precipice, and, another 4 years of this, I don't know how hard we can dig out.
Well, I think that's going to be one of the critical decisions Americans are going to have to make, because he doesn't intend to change his policies. In essence, if Barack Obama is reelected president of the United States, there's no way this debt gets under control, because he has no intention of getting it under control. He has no plan to do so, and he ignored his own commission's recommendations on it. So, we have to judge people by the body of work that they've produced. He's got 3 years now in office, and he's shown in 3 years that he's incapable or unwilling to do anything to deal seriously with the national debt.
I don't want to put you on the spot on these different issues, but it does become a little bit difficult. I am concerned about the lack of leadership in Congress. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not talking about you young guys who came in this last go-around, but I am concerned about the lack of boldness. And so, a 2-month deal and the payroll tax cut, we don't even explain to the American people that this money's coming from nowhere. So even if you support it, you got to explain it. And 2 months for what? What does 2 months do, and why would we agree to that?
Well, that's a good point. A couple things, and I think the better point you made even was the fact that it's not being explained, and that's a key part of leadership, is to stand up and say, look, these are the choices before us, this is the route we think we should go on, and here's why. The truth is that the American economy right now can't sustain another tax increase. Also true is that payroll tax cuts are unsustainable, and you can't just keep doing this forever. This is not a permanent long-term way to deal with this issue. Better than that would be comprehensive tax reform, which is really what we should focus on. And my advice to Republicans and leadership in Congress this year is to let's focus on 2 or 3 key things and drive them, hopefully get them passed, but just, if we can't, at the very least, help people understand what it is we're for. And that's number 1, comprehensive tax reform. Let's simplify the tax code. Number 2, let's have a real energy policy in this country that keeps in mind that this is an energy-rich country and that we should be taking advantage of that and using it to help our people. And number 3, let's get serious about the national debt. And let's focus on those 3 issues and help them be what people identify conservatism and republicanism to be about. And I hope that that's what 2012 will be about, is those 3 critical issues, because you take those 3 together and they would do a tremendous amount to improve the lives of millions of people across this country.
Let me ask you this. Are you fairly comfortable with most of the Republicans who are vying to be president, and are you fairly comfortable if, when one of them is nominated, that they'll have a decent shot at defeating Obama, or do you have a lot of anxiety over all this?
I don't have a lot of anxiety, because the truth is that virtually any of the people on that stage would be a dramatic improvement over the president. I think we have a very good case to make. This president, by the time people vote, will have been in office close to 4 years. I think they'll look across and they'll say, okay, the first 2 years you were in office, you got everything you wanted. You could have had anything you wanted because your party had super majorities in the Senate and a majority in the House. Anything you asked for, they would have given you. And what did you choose? What did you ask them for? You asked them for a stimulus package that failed, but it did grow our national debt. You asked them for a health care law that is a disaster and is only going to get more disastrous as time goes on. These are the things you relied on, and it did not work. And now you're coming to us and asking for a 4-year extension? You've got to be judged by the body of your work, and it's been failure. This president has failed. And by every measure, everything in America is worse than it was the day he took over. Let's admit it. I'll concede right now. He took over an economy that was doing poorly, but everything under his presidency has made it worse, and he has no excuse, because the first 2 years he was in office, he could have had anything he wanted, and the things he asked for didn't work. In fact, they made things worse.
Now, is the Senate like you expected the Senate to be?
I think parts of it are. I mean, it moves very slowly. Part of it's been dysfunctional, and because it has operated in a way we've never seen before. I mean, you have to understand the Senate, under Senator Reid's leadership, sat around for basically 6 or 7 months and didn't do anything. I mean, I remember writing a letter in February of last year. I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, and I outlined all the things that I wanted to see as part of any deal to raise the debt limit. It included tax reform. It included entitlement reform. It included, all these sorts of things to deal with the debt, a balanced budget amendment. And people telling me, they say, we don't have enough time to do all those things. Well, 6 months later, they put together a super committee that was supposed to do all those things in like an 8-week period. So the point is that you look at the time that was wasted last year. The Senate just sat around and did nothing. Very few real bills. These show votes. It's like a theater, where every week they just bring up these votes that they know are going to fail for the purpose of creating fodder for the campaign cycle, but no real solutions, no real work on behalf of the people that sent them there, and it's really troubling. So, look, I think there are a lot of people in the Senate, for the most part, are very good people, is not functioning right now because it's not being run in a way that quite frankly, allows it to function.
So what gives you hope?
The American people. I mean, the American people are as great as they've ever been. Americans haven't forgotten how to create jobs. They haven't run out of good ideas. They're still raising their families. They're making big differences in little ways every single day. We forget there are heroes all around us, whether they're serving overseas in uniform or they're giving their elderly neighbor a ride to work. People all around us who are real heroes, and you're never going to read about them. They're never going to be on a magazine article. You're never going to be a front-page story in a newspaper. But the American people are as great as they've ever been. If only they could have a government worthy of them. If only they could have a government that could somehow work on their behalf and do some few simple things very well. And that gives me a lot of hope, because I know we're ultimately going to get it right. I just worry that by the time we get it right, by the time our leaders get it right, the solutions will be more painful than they need to be.
Well, we're out of time, but I want to say something to you, if I may, and you don't even have to reply, because I'm not trying to put you on the spot. If we have a Republican nominee who turns to you or turns to somebody of your caliber and says, I really need you to run on this ticket, I hope you'll reconsider, because this is a perilous moment in our country. I very much care for our country as you do. I very much care about my children as you do. If somebody turns to you and says, I need you, I hope you will reconsider. You don't need to comment. I'm just telling you from my heart what I think, Senator.
Well, thank you.
Senator, I remember when, frankly, you were just a little guy running around in Florida, and I saw you, and I said, wait a minute, listen to this guy. This guy's good. I'm not taking credit. I'm not taking blame. I'm saying if it's your time, Senator, it's your time. Can you at least hear me out on that?
All right. Well, I'll look forward to talking to you more about that. But